What is your biggest NSFW secret? Story 1. I got my girlfriend pregnant in high school, but she had a miscarriage after 1.5 months. We never told anyone. Story 2. I sort of accidentally fingered my high school GF's anus in their living room while her family was there. We were on the couch and she was sort of laying across me with a blanket over her. I slipped my hand down the back of her jeans thinking I was making it to third base. I popped my finger in the first hole I could find and she dug her fingers into my leg. We never talked about it, but I still think of it sometimes. Story 3. I'm in an office fitness challenge run through a Fitbit group that counts steps per day. I'm averaging about 1k extra steps daily due to my pre-bedtime wank session. Story 4. Recently I got into fitness, after a life without participating in any sports whatsoever. Turns out I can orgasm, without using hands, when doing leg raises. Edit, holy shit, never thought this many people would find this interesting, haha. Also, I'm a female. But apparently guys can do it too? Story 5. After 3 years married we played Never Have I Ever with a group of friends. I found out that my husband once bucked someone else's wife in the back of a bar. He also used to deliver Chinese food and was invited in to buck a customer on her kitchen counter a la cliché corn style. Edit, since this is getting some attention, I'll tell the whole story. It was indeed one of the last deliveries of the day shortly before Christmas. He said the girl took a long time to pay, and he could hear her shouting at someone on the phone when she was inside. When she finally paid, she sheepishly invited him in to share the food with her. He made a quick call to his then boss, who was his cousin. His cousin is pretty cool I guess, because he said, go for it. So he went in and the chick informed him that she and her boyfriend were in a fight / breaking up, and she was really depressed about it, especially since it was Christmas time. Drinks happened, one thing led to another, and she kicked him out at 3 a.m. in freezing New Jersey. He is a fairly handsome, at the time young, charming, and charismatic Chinese man. And he says, well, I was kind of man whore. Direct quote. Story 6. So I'm at a party, and got way drunker than I expected, and was talking to a girl. She asked me if I wanted to go somewhere more private, and I said yes. Now this girl was pretty large, and I had my handy dandy beer goggles on and I decided that I've never had sex with a BBW before. So we get into the room, lights off, and start going at it. We're in the doggy style position, and I reach up and start grabbing her breasts. About 10 minutes goes by of me fondling her, until she grabs one of my hands and moves it to her boobs. Turns out, I had been groping one of her fat rolls and couldn't tell, and she didn't have the heart to actually tell me. Story 7. When I was a kid, around 12 or 13, and first discovered corn, I found out how to search for child porn and did so because I wanted to see girls my own age doing it. Story 8. A relative of mine dating a porn star. I don't know how many people know in my family. Christmas dinners are extra awkward now that I know. Edit, this got more attention than what I thought it would. Story 9. I watched Korn. Saw one of her videos. Thought her face was familiar, recognized some body markings. Thought about it for a few days, then when I couldn't take not knowing for sure, I asked my relative about it. He confirmed it. Story 10. I had a wonderful soul relationship with a much older woman whose brother walked in on us having sex. I was 28 and she was 51. Both of us related to each other on certain kinks as well as being discreet. The place we had sex was her daughter's clubhouse, which was a miniature cabin next to the house. Had to do this because I was allergic to the cats in her house. To add extra icing to the story, this woman's brother showed up, unannounced, and walked in on me eating her out. The poor guy was speechless and walked out like a robot. If you made it this far, please consider pressing the subscribe and like button. Now continue to the video. Story 11. It's not really a secret because eBay told it on Reddit before, but my family still doesn't know. When I was 20, I knocked up my 18-year-old girlfriend. She cheated on me with 2 other guys, but I decided to stick around for the baby. I did, however, ask her to go live with her parents as opposed to with me, considering the infidelity and all. I was excited to have a child, just not with her. She ended up not taking the breakup well and insisted that I was her favorite man and wanted me to assume fatherhood properly and wanted to stay with me. She began doing a ton of drugs while pregnant in light of her emotional turbulence. She went into labor 4 months premature. The baby had no lungs and died post-birth after about 4 hours. I was relieved to hear the baby was dead. Kinda bucked up when you think about it. I washed my hands of the situation and ejected her from my life, but that didn't stop her from emailing me nude videos after she married her next boyfriend because she wanted me back. Story 12. When I was 9, I was staying at my cousin's house, who was also 9, and another of our cousins was over. He was 5. We built a tent in our cousin's room. His room was in the basement and his parents never went down there, and curiosity got the better of us and we all showed each other our junk. They were both boys and I was a girl, and I was so shy I made them pay me a nickel. It was all just an innocent childhood rite of passage, but it horrifies me to think that I technically prostituted myself at age 9. Story 13. I accidentally saw my first hoo-ha at 9. Was playing with a girl on the playground and somehow grabbed her pants trying to stop her swinging on the monkey bars and kicking me. I don't know, weird kid game. I ended up being the only boy from class invited to her birthday party though. I don't know if that meant we were cool. I'm sorry, Becca, I hope you are well. Story 14. I used to write erotica for a living. A little bit of everything: BDSM, femdom, latex, pet play, group sex, piss, cross-dressing, you name it, I've done it. And written about it, her. On my computer, I have comfortably over 1 million words of written erotica. I paid off my student loans with the earnings from my sordid little fantasies. My family think I wrote corporate reports and white papers for various international companies they'd never heard of. Suffice to say, it would not go over well at Christmas dinner if my old pen names were discovered. Now I've gone legit and switched to romance novels, but I still don't tell all that many people in my real life about it. No one in my family can keep a secret, and there's a cunnilingus scene in my upcoming book that I'm not eager for my gran to read, put it that way. Story 15. My previous job was so stressful to me that I used to masturbate around lunchtime to relieve my severe anxiety. It was honestly the perfect solution and my work would go up exponentially afterwards. I have no regrets and I never did it in my office or anywhere weird and public like that. I'd just go to the bathroom and 7 minutes later I was ready for work. I'm working on anxiety with more conventional means like drugs. Edit, what beautiful irony that this comment made it this high on one of my cornouts. Story 16. I unintentionally got a bucking big promotion based on me basically copying some other guy's work. So here's the story. I work in kind of a shitty company. A place where you wouldn't be surprised if we lost 10 staff, with 2 of them being key members in 6 months. So nothing gets done here. It's just constantly catching up and dealing with other buck-ups and things that have been left behind. I got kind of pissed off with the inefficiency of the system, so I took it upon myself to basically code a little business solution. But obviously I didn't have too much time to sit down and actually work on it. So I decided not to reinvent the wheel and look around for some source code I could mold into something usable. I didn't find much that suited my needs, with the exception of a watch people code style video tutorial on a bit of software that sort of did what I wanted to do. So I asked HR for another screen so I could watch this guy's YouTube video, code it, and make changes as necessary. Turns out, I got one of those screens with the polarizer pads on them. I don't know what they're actually called. That makes the screen impossible to see from all except one viewing angle. So I stuck the YouTube video on that and started following along. Anyway, my boss caught wind of it and basically commended me for being an awesome programmer and essentially wanted to double my salary because of the excellent initiative and speed and quality of code I was writing on the fly. The software was written in Ruby. I know bucking shit all about Ruby. I was terrified I was going to get caught out, because all I knew was PHP and a bit of Java. And then he said, Hey Alundra 828, sorry, but we have no modules that need to be looked into that require your skill set at the moment. Are you proficient in PHP? If so, can you help the dev guys out with their queries for 6 months? Fuck can yes. Everything came up Millhouse. I had landed a X2 salary, a better job role with more benefits, and I had 6 months to learn a language. Plenty of time. Story 17. I find it a physical chore to have sex with my wife. I love her dearly, but I am in no way sexually attracted to her, and in fact have to work quite hard to maintain an erection. Story 18. Probably the audio corn. Started off just as a fun thing I wanted to try for a week or two and then quit, but then I realized how much fun it was and how good it felt making stuff people enjoyed. Over a year later and I'm still doing it, and it's a part of who I am now. Once I realized I could use my past editing and organization skills to outreach to other performers/posters, mainly female but occasionally male, and get them all together to work on a single audio project, the possibilities became endless. I realized no one else was really taking up the reins in regards to editing/organizing collabs with people, so I kinda took it upon myself to become that person. At this point I've probably organized/posted upwards of 40 or 50 massive collabs that are basically orgasm symphonies, yet I'm never gonna be able to talk about it IRL cause there's no way I'd ever reveal it to friends/family. Only person that knows about all this IRL that I can talk to is my girlfriend, and she already knows everything cause I met her cause we were both doing audio corn and started chatting one day. I guess that's my other NSFW secret, I can never reveal how I actually met my girlfriend and future wife. Same goes for my best friend. Story 19. I once fingered my girlfriend under the table across from her mother. Let me stress that we were young and I now have more sense, but damn was that wild. Story 20. There was this girl at school who spread a rumor that I was a transfer from a mental health facility. Things escalated until it was a 6th grade dance. I snuck up behind her and cut her spaghetti straps. Go to hell, Ashley. Story 21. I catfished pedophiles when I was 13 and sent the chat logs to the FBI anonymous tip line. I set up a place to meet and guaranteed they would be there and sent the address to the FBI. I'm not sure if anything actually followed up, but that is what I used to do for fun. Story 22. I spend my entire workday on Reddit. This has been going on for 2 months. I have no idea why they hired me. Edit, I want to salute my fellow desk jockeys. Keep sticking it to the man, my dudes and dudettes. Story 23. Hey! Me too! They created this position for me a year ago, but then there were a bunch of unexpected organizational changes and no one was really sure what to do with me. So I've been shuffled around to different teams, but no one actually needs my help. At first it was mind-numbing and I constantly asked for assignments. But after a while I just said, bucket. Now I lay low, don't speak unless spoken to, and collect my paychecks. Not exaggerating, I've done maybe 40 hours of actual work in 8 months. And I get to work from home 3 days a week. Story 24. When I was in university I had sex with my housemate's father. She introduced me to him one day, we chatted together for a while, he drove her to uni, then drove back to our house, knocked on my door and in a very matter-of-fact way told me to take my clothes off. We had what was actually quite good sex for an hour, then he gets out of bed, pockets my knickers and leaves. Which made things a bit awkward between me and her. Apparently after that he developed a thing for bucking her friends. So it was more awkward for the rest of her social circle. Story 25. I haven't had sex in so long I know the second I stick my dick in some pussy it's going to be an instant bust. One pump chump? Not even one pump chump? Story 26. Back in the good old days of MSN, I flashed and masturbated a lot on webcam. I wasn't getting a lot of real-life male attention at the time and was awkwardly discovering myself. I was 14, which I always told the guys before webcam was even mentioned. There are quite a few guys out there who have masturbated furiously over my pixelated tits. I didn't think it was that odd at the time, but I've since realized having 25-plus-year-old males ask for a 14-year-old to masturbate and flash on cam is really creepy. Story 27. I've taken and sent nudes to my fiancé while I'm at work. He's done the same thing. Probably a pretty tame story compared to others, but it's still NSFW, I guess? Story 28. I did webcam modeling for about a year and the pay was actually kinda worth it. The reason I stopped was because of the weird requests I would get from men. I'm not judging anybody's sexual orientation, but I'm a straight man and it felt weird having men tell me what they wanted me to do. On numerous occasions though, a guy would pay me for hours at a time to change smoke cigarettes naked. I'd make about $100 every time he got on. Story 29. I've told this on Reddit before, but I had a one-night weekend stand while on vacation with the friend I was visiting's roommate. It was vicious. I was choking her, light-eye gouging, propping myself up with a hand on her face so it was bearing much of my weight, fingering her asshole, then shoving my fingers in her mouth, and slapping her tits, face, and ass so hard that I left her ass bruised bad enough that her friends could see the bruises at the beach the next day and asked her about it. And I absolutely loved every minute of it. She was into it too. I wouldn't have done it or enjoyed it if it wasn't consensual. I asked over and over again if it was too hard, and she kept saying no. We had sex again the next day, although more traditionally. Vacation was over the following day. Never saw or heard from her again. I'd like to think she found another man who treats her like a punching bag and fell in love and lived happily ever after. Story 30. Late to the game, doubt this will go anywhere, but I've never told a soul about this. I grew up in a relatively rural, heavy Mormon populated community in South Idaho. In high school circa year 2000, the popular thing was to log onto MSN chat using your Hotmail credentials and chat with your friends about all the gossip in school, usually on weeknights. One day my best friend tells me he needs to check on some emails in his GF's account and we both wrongfully agree to hack her email, aka guess the answer to her forgotten password question. We get in, and confirm she was cheating on him, log out and nobody knows the wiser. Then I have the proverbial Animal House red devil pop up on my shoulder and say, Jesus Steve, not my real name, that was way easier than you thought. I bet you could snoop around in more of your friends' email accounts. So I did, and got into something like 20 emails and everything was really boring and the guilt was racking up. Until I got into the sweetest, nicest, Mormon girl's account. She had a ton of junk mail and something like 700 friends in her mission account, most of which with names like Horniskseaman69 at and 13-inch cock bob at, etc. Not 30 seconds pass and I'm getting tens of message pings from God knows who, where from, and how old, messages like, baby show me your sweet pussy again. I kinda freaked out and logged out. Went to bed, said my prayers and asked God for forgiveness. Then I woke up in the middle of the night with the devil back on my shoulder saying, "Bucking is Steve. You know what to do." And I did it. I created some bullshit Hotmail account with the same style naming convention, added this girl to its MSN chat friends list, logged back into her account, accepted the request, then logged out. I spent the next 2 years logging into the fake account and sexting? I think it was called cybering? With her, which often included a ton of webcam images of her doing every soul dare imaginable and never shared her face, nor did I show mine. Icing on top, I took her to my senior year commencement dance. We kissed and started making out when she stopped me and told me it was too sinful. I am sure I'm the only person that ever knew her dirty secret. I left Mormonism when I was 24.